Greetings, everyone. This is Payman, known as the host of the Leaders Without podcast today for episode 218. Wow. I have another wonderful guest for you, my new good friend from one of the countries that I want to visit the most, one of the probably most blessed countries in terms of natural beauty, New Zealand. And Jacob, we got connected a few weeks ago. And Jacob is currently based on the South Island in New Zealand. We had a wonderful chat about a week or so ago, and I knew right away that I had to bring him on the podcast because a very powerful story. Plus, is all about the heart. That's why we connected. And yeah, a little bit about him. Is He loves skiing, chasing winters, even though he hasn't done that in a few years. But is this is what one of his life passions. And growing up, it wasn't easy because he's had challenges with drinking, drugs, and abuse. But now he's, of course, he's overcome that. It put it behind him, and he's doing everything now to empower, to help. He's an intuitive. Was about empowering and self-expression of yourself, so you can show yourself the way that you want to be. To show yourself. What he does is very fascinating, which is he draws light code transmissions and activation, which is basically written light language energy on a piece of paper, and he does readings for people on that, and he just help them understand and interpret their energy and all that. We can talk a lot about that. He's also very good with his hand. He's a very handy man. We're just talking earlier, and of course, living in such a wonderful country like New Zealand, and you have to be, I guess, you have to be good with your hands because nature is all around you. And yeah, and he did a lot of other things. He did photography for a while. He's traveled a lot. He just came back from Spain, where he moved forward after a relationship, and now is doing mentoring. Is helping people, reaching out to people to help them get their message out, getting them the visibility and understanding of who they are and all that. So yeah, is a fascinating man, and that's why he's here. So without any further ado, Jacob, my new friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, brother, thank you. Thank you. It's a real honor to be here. And yeah, I loved our connection and our conversation, and I feel very blessed to be invited and share with you. So, yeah, thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Before we start, I just want to mention and emphasize the wonders of technology. I'm sitting here in Canada. It's Thursday evening at 7 p.m. You're in New Zealand. What time is it for you now?
It's 11:15 in the morning of Friday.
Wow. How amazing is that? From the other side of the world, probably from Toronto to you in the South Island is probably one of the two most very, far away from each other. And yet we're still sitting face to face. Wow, that's amazing. I will never get tired of getting amazed about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And that's the beauty of technology. We can see
Wow.
the issues in it and the beauty in it, and I love how it makes the world so small, and the way that we can network and connect and create
Absolutely.
community wherever we are. And
Absolutely. Speaking of
yeah, it's
community
fascinating.
and getting to know and making the world smaller, I don't know if you recall, but I did mention that to you when we spoke last time. The types of conversations I'd like to have on my podcast are I'd like to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to have a heart to heart conversation, hence the name Leaders with a Heart, because my podcast is all about finding out, knowing who is the person, who is Jacob as a human being, first and foremost, before the business person, before the whatever you do. Because what is business at the end of the day? It's not a numbers game, despite what all these self proclaimed gurus want us to believe. Sure, numbers matter, but ultimately, business, it's a relationship nurturing process. We do business with people who can connect and relate as human being. If you don't connect with them as human being, you're not going to do business with them. As simple as that. So, are you ready to get started, to get to have a look under your heart, under your hood, to see what's in your heart, Jacob?
For sure. Let's explore.
All right. So for people who don't know you, who's Jacob as a person, as a human being? We're gonna talk about your business in a moment, but first, as a human being, who's Jacob?
Generally pretty down to earth fella. I can definitely get ungrounded, but I feel generally I'm very grounded, and I love nature. Nature is just incredible for me.
Mhm.
I really connect when I'm with nature, with myself, and just constantly I could look at the same view 1,000 times and be looking at it like it's the first time I saw it, you know, and it just really brings me into my heart in that
You know,
way.
sorry to interrupt you. Just a thought came to mind. You mentioned earlier when we talked offline that you work with past lives. Now, what you just mentioned that you love nature. Did you in some way chose purposely to be born in New Zealand because New Zealand is one of the most beautiful scenic places in terms of nature and beauty?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I believe we do. We look at what we require for our own
Hmm.
conscious evolution, and it all comes down onto the parents and the lessons that are there, the family dynamics, geographically, the star alignment, everything, you know. So, um, and yeah, I guess I feel I'm an old soul, so I probably got to choose maybe a little bit more loosely on where I wanted to be. And New Zealand was probably very inviting in that sense. You know, it's also a very strong connection with Lemuria here in New Zealand, so it's also has that beauty aspect to it as well.
Isn't
Um,
New Zealand one of the last remnants of the lost continents of Mu in Lemuria?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. And I feel that's part of why the pandemic's playing out the way it is here, because it was one of the last places to hold the light. So it makes sense that it's, you know, showing some darkness more prominently or before the other countries. You know, there's other things that being talked about. I don't really put a lot of energy into that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is incredible. You know, so many people come to this country from overseas, and you know, I've lived in different communities and connected with people of all ages, and the common thing they say is they've come here to find themselves. You know, they felt like they needed to find themselves or get in touch with themselves, and New Zealand was a place that was waving its hand saying, "Come here," and it does. You know, we don't have a big history. We do have a history that a lot of it's unspoken by. Um, yeah, it's not talked about and hidden away, but we don't have a dense history like the 1200s, the 1300s, the 1400s of a lot of parts of the world. So I feel that opens a bit more of a void and a lighter veil and more of a connection with being able to hear your inner voice and connecting with nature. You know, we don't have too many people here as well, especially in the South Island with the size of our country. So there's a lot of bush and a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity.
When you say that maybe New Zealand as a modern and recent nation, as it might have a not a long history, but as a land, New Zealand is probably one of the oldest lands, especially if you go back to Lemuria and Mu. That the, and that the story that unfortunately is not being taught to us, whether it's on purpose or whatever. But I feel that there's more to New Zealand and even the entire world than what we're being told.
For sure, I believe a lot of the history we're taught is just distorted, you know, and there's a lot of things that you can find. Like there's a beautiful company called the Plum Tree Productions, and they have three, I think, YouTube videos about New Zealand. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
know archaeologists and a lot of, you know, different findings of all around the world have been here, which is not talked about. And Skeletons in Our Cupboard series by the Plum Tree Productions is really informative and quite fascinating. And it's just right there, you know, it's so obvious. It's not even that long ago, but yeah, you know, other people don't want to talk about it or acknowledge it. You know, the Waitaha, some people understand Waitaha people and others will just refuse to admit it. And, you know, the Waitaha are very special. They didn't have any weapons. They lived in harmony, one nation, you know, you want to be here, you're from here. That was their part of their philosophy. It's very vast, very beautiful as
Beautiful.
well.
No, that's a beautiful topic. We can do an entire show just on that alone. We will talk about that in a moment, but first, let's get back to getting to further know you. And to start off, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
Okay.
All right. So, Jacob, what makes you happy as a person?
Oh, I just feel being in touch with my heart. So, and if others are doing that as well, you know, when I see someone just coming from a place of just feeling really blissful,
Hmm.
lifts me, lifts others, you know, animals do that for as well. So I very much care about animals and other beings as well. So
Beautiful.
everyone living in harmony from that heart space. Yeah.
Love that. Now, what makes you smile?
Being silly, being a child,
Yeah,
laughing at myself.
exactly. Love that. Now let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart come alive? What makes your soul sing?
Honoring what my inner calling is. So, and assisting others to do that as well. I'm a real believer of teacher student
Mm,
philosophy. And yeah, when I see someone move from being in a dark place and come into their light and get a different understanding or just relating to the world they live in a different way that is more fulfilling, it's just beautiful. Yeah, I just feel
mhm.
we're all here to be of service in whatever way we can, and just being a messenger. But for me, it's about an invitation. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. They need to work it out for themselves, but just to be an invitation.
Beautiful. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
It's interesting. Yeah, I heard you ask someone else this, and I sat with it, and I believe, these emotions all need to be expressed, but
Hmm.
there's always light in every situation. So I find it interesting this, but if I feel into it, when I don't honor myself, I get it angry with myself. As far as the outer world goes, there's a lot of distortion in the world, and
Hmm.
we're on this journey of consciousness, and we call it spirituality and all this, and there's a lot of distortion also in that world. So when I see someone who's presenting a vision of consciousness, but it's coming from a place of hurt, they're still carrying a really dark energy. It's I get a little bit annoyed with that because it's creating more fear. It's not true and it doesn't assist. So it's about integrity and coming, really asking ourselves where are we truly coming from and what our vision is, because yeah, we just need to be more in our heart space to create
Hmm.
love. We are love, but we've got to be in touch with that, and we've got to be
Beautiful.
true with ourselves.
Beautiful. I agree with that totally. Now, what scares you?
Um, what scares me?
Other than
Not
spiders.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because, like, as a kid, I always wanted to swim with a great white shark without a
Oh,
cage.
yeah.
I always wanted to meet a bear in the woods.
Mm.
Um,
Come to Canada. You'll plenty of those.
yeah, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I've only been there in the winter. It was amazing, but yeah, I'd love to come in the summer. I did see a bear in Spain actually, wandering
Oh,
through the
really?
woods, not
Wow.
yeah, a few hundred meters away from me, and I was like, "What is that? A bear? Is that a brown bear? Looks like
Was
a
it in the
bear, but
mountains, like in the Pyrenees?
yeah, not the Pyrenees, but not too far away. Yeah,
Okay.
in
Wow.
between Tarragona and Barcelona.
Oh, wow.
Um, but what scares me? Yeah, I have there's a lot of anger that's right buried within me that I've been working through all my life,
Mm-hmm.
and it continues to present itself at times, and it's quite a force.
Yeah.
So if that was to take me over, which ain't going to happen, but that kind of force is a bit scary, and that's out there in the world. Um, so yeah, people who aren't in touch with ways of having to manage that and having tools, I think is a bit scary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My heart,
Beautiful. Love that.
yeah, yeah, I've got a big heart. I know that for
I
sure.
can see that. That's why you're on this podcast. Otherwise, we'll not be on this. Me and you would not be having this conversation. Let me tell you that.
That's
Let me be
it.
very blunt.
Nice, I like it.
Yeah. Now, when was the last time you had a really, really, really good hearty laugh? The type of laugh that makes your cheeks hurt, you give you cramps and your tummy, tears in your eyes because you're laughing so hard.
When was the last time?
Yes.
Mm, I think it was a wee while ago. Actually, um, yeah, I would say some weeks ago, just with some friends, you know.
Mm,
Um, I can't really exactly remember what the thing was, but you know, yeah, I love that when you're just in pain because your body doesn't laugh in that way that often, you know. So,
yeah.
and it's incredible what happens for you and the energy that it creates. But yeah, I haven't been doing it often enough. You know, I've had a bit of a journey, and I'm kind of working through some stuff, and yeah, I've been having a lot of time with nature and the beach, and
Hmm.
um, I've had some good connections with people as well. But yeah, it's time to, you know, it's springtime now, so it's time to get out again
Oh,
and
yes.
get more active and start having some fun.
Speaking of that, what lights you up in the morning when you wake up?
I just find getting up and getting into a real cool routine, you know, and it could be, you know, just moving the body in whatever way it wants to. I mean, sometimes I have a steady routine, so it could be a yoga practice or qigong or something, but dance as well, you know, just
Hmm.
yeah, looking at the
Beautiful.
sunrise, yeah, as well. It's really special.
Awesome. Now let's move forward. You like traveling, right?
Yes.
Now let me take you down a different type of travel down memory line. Go back to when you were a young boy growing up. You know, when we were kids, people around us, parents, teachers, relatives, friends ask us, "So, Jacob, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer to that question as a young boy?
It's interesting because I was catching up with my sister recently and we were talking, and she said, "Do you remember what you used to say when, you know, like the age of 6 to 10 all the
Hmm.
time when someone asked you what you're going to do when you grow up?" And I said, "No, I don't remember." She said, "You always said, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be a
Oh,
father." I always said that. She apparently, my sister's amazing at remembering things when we were young. Um, and it's interesting. I'm not a father. I'm 53 years old, and I'm not a father. I've come close a few times. I've had some miscarriages. I had an abortion when I was a teenager. Um, Not me personally, obviously. Um, and I've been married, and my wife at that time had a boy. Michael was 6 years old, and he called me dad, and it was very special.
hmm,
Um, so it's interesting. And when I fell into that, I never really had a real strong that I've been with feeling as an adult that I want to be a dad. Like some people just really know it. But when I step into that role, and I've worked with what we call special needs youth, and that was incredible as well. You know, to look after characters, and so I feel even with my age, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there.
beautiful, beautiful. Now, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
Um, I would say I managed a lot of difficulties in school, and there were some things that I could enjoy. But if I had to say one or the other, I would say I hated it.
Why? Was it the teacher? Was it the way it was structured? Or why? What was the thing that you didn't like about school?
I didn't get it. You know, I didn't get a lot of things in life when I was young, and I asked a lot of questions, and I was just told I was argumentative because I didn't get what I was getting told, and school was just the same. You know, I loved mathematics, I loved art, I loved tech drawing, but other than that, it was just a waste of time. You know, and yeah, teachers were weird. I had some serious bullying at school, which was full on. But I stayed at school. My brother, he's 9 years older than me, and because I was into surfing at that time, I knew a lot of his mates, and they all said to me, "Don't rush out into the working world. Just stay at school because you don't get that kind of freedom when you get older." So I did stay at school full term because of that. But yeah, I was not there often as well. I was also at the beach surfing when I should have been at school.
So you mentioned mathematics, you mentioned drawing. What was your favorite subject in school among all of those?
I think it's mathematics actually. As much as I love drawing, mathematics was very easy for me, and yeah, there was an art in mathematics for me.
Hmm. They call
Not with
mathematics.
statistics though, calculus as I got older.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they call math the language of the universe.
Yeah. So that's what I feel was speaking through me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm unawares. Yeah.
And then what was your least favorite subject in school?
English.
Why?
I don't know. It was just boring. Like we didn't learn anything about New Zealand and Maori culture in my school when I was growing up, and um, I didn't really relate to the language. I always had this thing. I felt English wasn't my first language. As much as I can see some real beauty and amazing creativity within the language of English now, um, I still I relate to light language a lot more than what I do
Mm,
English, I think.
okay. Moving forward, what was your very first job?
Working for my father in the
Hmm.
aluminium industry, so making aluminium windows and doors and things like that.
Do you remember how much you were getting paid for the first job?
Cool. No, but I know I've had times in my life where I've earned around 10 New Zealand dollars an hour,
Which back then
which
for a
is,
kid was good money, I guess.
yeah, probably was. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was right into lollies and sweets and things, and you could get 5 lollies for 1 cent. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And give him to the girls, right?
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Moving forward now, from the moment you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing once you get into one lane, or was it more like turns and twists like a roller coaster?
A roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really been a very settled person. I've had many jobs. I've lived in many locations throughout New Zealand and some overseas. Um, yeah, I was more into physical work because I like working with my hands and I
Mm,
played a lot of sports. So I like that activity. And then, but yeah, there was something in me because I was around a lot of violence and I had a lot of hurt, but I also had a real gentleness and a loving nature. So I was a little bit confused with things at times, and eventually I had a really dear friend passed away just when I was starting to ask questions about myself and life, and that just took me on a whole different track, which is what we call the spiritual world,
mhm.
and that was 14 years ago, and yeah, that's it's. I would say everything I used to do, I don't do anymore, and everything I'm doing now is new to me.
Because you're a different person now than you were before.
Yeah, exactly. And I just dropped a lot of things. And, I was always fast, 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 go, go, go. And then I started meditating and just sitting in
Oh yeah.
stillness for however long you felt to be there. And it could be an hour, seriously, in total stillness. It's just incredible.
Absolutely. You mentioned something that caught my attention. You said that you lived overseas in a few locations. Tell us about some of these places that you lived.
So I lived in Chile
Oh wow.
twice. I got married to a Chilean woman. And so I lived there a couple of times, and yeah, I'm right in amongst the culture, but in a big city, Santiago, the capital. So
Hmm.
it was busy, busy, busy. And I lived in France for a while,
Wow. Where
but
about?
mostly just in Chamonix
Oh,
during the
Chamonix. Yeah,
winter.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Chamonix, yeah.
In the
Um,
Alps. Yeah.
in the Alps, yeah. And then I spent 3 months in Canada.
Where?
Um, BC mostly,
Oh
but yeah,
yeah.
again, chasing winters.
Oh yeah.
But
Beautiful
had a
there.
350 Chevy van and just driving around and park
Oh
up
yeah.
and just
The van life.
explore
Yeah.
a place for however long, and then go to the next place. And
Did you get to experience the harsh, cold Canadian winter?
minus 37 was my coldest day
Oh
skiing.
yeah. Okay. So you had a good welcome into Canada, to the real Canadian winter. Mind
Yeah.
you, minus 37 is not as the coldest because I've experienced minus 55, but
You are.
no.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I skied, minus 20, minus 25 many times, and that became just the norm, and it was totally okay. But then, going to 37 was a bit like,
Yeah.
yeah, get me to the hotel with a fire and have a beer and might go out again for a few more runs later.
I lived in Alberta a few years ago, and I worked in the oil fields. Sometimes we worked at night outside, minus 35, minus 40 under snow blizzard. Sometimes you had bones that you didn't even knew that you had were aching, minus 40. It's absolutely
Wow.
brutal, absolutely brutal. So when I came back from Western Canada back to Toronto, I went from minus 35, minus 40 to minus 20. I was going out with a t-shirt. People looking, are you crazy? That's minus 20 is nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing what the body can adjust to, eh?
Absolutely. It's a marvel. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
So you mentioned,
that's freezing. It's cold.
wow. What took you to Chile initially?
Um, I was gonna go for another winter and
Okay.
catch up with a friend that I'd connected with from Quebec, and
Mm-hmm.
then I slightly damaged my back, and I didn't want. We were going to go to Whistler, Blackcomb, which I'd been before, but we're going to do a season there, and I didn't want to be in that village injured,
Mm-hmm.
not being able to ski. Um, and I talked to my travel agent, who was a friend of mine, and then she just said, "Oh, we have a deal when you can go to the UK with a stopover in South America, and you can not even go to the UK. You can spend a whole year there, even if you want to." And straight away, Chile came into my awareness. I have no idea why, just bing. So I went, "Yeah, that's what I'm going to do."
Wow. Beautiful. Now we can do an entire episode just on the travel and experiences of living in. You mentioned in Canada, you mentioned Spain, you mentioned France, Chile, but we'll do that maybe in the next episode because I know me and you will have more than one episode. There's so much we can cover.
Yeah,
But let's move forward now. There is a saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves in our head all day long. So when you, Jacob, at your lowest moment, how did you change your story to change your life? Was it through the help of friends, family, relatives, mentors, videos, books? Tell us the approach you used to change your story inside of your head and your mind to change your life.
yeah. Well, there were many times when I got had some really heavy lows, but I just carried on knocking on the same doors, and it was in
Mm-hmm.
my late 30s when I said when my best friends passed away. And I went back to my life. I was already asking some questions, and then one day my boss upset me. He said something that was quite rude, and I retaliated, really angry. All this, I had some pause, and then a real fierce anger came through, and then I freaked out, and I ran into out the back of work into a big heap and sobbed and cried for hours. And I picked myself up, or someone found me actually 2 or 3 hours later, and I picked myself up and I walked home. And as I was walking home, I asked myself two questions. One, what are you going to do about this? And two, what is life actually really about?
Mm-hmm.
And I went home and I ended up getting on the internet and getting a numerology reading.
Okay.
And I just got a mini reading, and I knew there were dodgy things on the net and I had to be careful, but I just felt drawn to it, and I got this reading and it just blew me away. It just said so many things about me that really made sense and sounded true. And it talked about, as you get on a spiritual path, every day people will still help you with your journey. And then a few days later, I was at work, and a girl at work gave me a flyer from she got in her letterbox about a retreat center and just gave it to me and said, I felt to give you this. And I'm like, why are you giving me this? But I ended up going to the retreat center after canceling the first time because I freaked out. And then, yeah, got worked with some crystals and got a clairvoyant reading, and I was off. It was
Wow.
just totally off in
So,
trust.
so would you say and maybe it's a related question, but or maybe not. You're a spiritual person. When did you realize that you were spiritual? You might have that you might be different than other people around you in a way that you might have some extra capacities, capabilities, psychic talents, and all that. Was it something that you
When
were always blessed with, or is it something that you only realized and then you know ignited later in life?
it was when at this time that I just shared that when I started to explore the spiritual world, I started to realize that yeah, we all have amazing abilities. However, when I was younger, yeah, I was psychic. You know, I would go to the carnival. We have a carnival that still runs in our hometown. I think it's the longest one in New Zealand, and I would personally pick a ticket, a raffle ticket for the chocolate wheel. You know, I wouldn't buy the ticket. The guy and people would look at me weird, and I go, no, I don't want that one. I'd wait for the next spin, and then I'd look at the whole book, and I'd pick a ticket, and I'd almost always win. You know,
Wow.
I'd play bingo, and I would choose the thing. Oh, I could barely see it. I'd get on my tippy toes. I was like 5 years old, and look at it and go, nah, next one, nah, nah. Oh yeah, this one maybe, yeah, okay. And I'd get a line, or sometimes win the house and
Do you still have
stuff
that
like that.
talent?
Hmm?
Do you still have that
Do I
talent?
still have it? Yeah, it's there, but it's interesting. I find when you get on a spiritual journey, um, for me anyway, I had a stage where a lot of judgment come in. So I started saying, "Oh, I can't do that because it's not good," or "No, that's not okay," and I need to align, and it needs to be from the heart, and that thing's not from the heart, and so go through this whole journey of and then some of your unworthiness shows up, and so you go, well, yeah, I could get a lotto ticket, and I won 6 lotto tickets in a row some years ago, and I knew every time I would win, and I didn't buy one every week. I fell into it and went, okay, not this week, but I only won small prizes every time, and when I put energy into the big one, something seemed to shift within me.
Yeah, so what I'm about to ask you, so maybe you could use those talents to find the winning numbers for the big jackpot, you know?
That would be nice. Yeah. Let's put it out there. Let's say it's already happened.
Well, universe, we heard you, you know.
I'll
So
share it, and I'll share it with everyone I can.
and then I will do another podcast back when you won. You can explain to us how you did it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was also like I used to watch people, and I could read their whole journey. I used to
Mm,
just sit and watch, and I knew their age and what number of child they
wow.
were in the family, and whether they play sport or not, or what. And I can remember there were some things with my mum, and I was talking about something, and she got really angry with me. She said, "People don't see things like you do." And I was like,
Yeah, because I'm special, mom. You know that, you know, I'm different.
"Huh?" Yeah,
Did you
and
ever u-
she would tell me that she would see that.
did you at any time use your psychic abilities to get yourself out of a difficult, dangerous situation, for example?
Yes, skiing. Um, there were times where I came over a bit of a bluff, and I was going to land on some rocks, and I just shifted my body. I just looked at where I
Mm,
wanted to land, and I just landed there. So it
okay.
was it was impossible on a physical realm to do that, but to be able to teleport, I guess, or shift in some way to where you're actually focusing on. I was just doing that naturally at times. I mean, it didn't happen all the time because I did hang myself a few times over cliffs,
Wow.
but that was one that comes to mind that did happen a few times. I got caught in an avalanche once, and I really believe my intuition got me out of that avalanche. Otherwise, I would have
Wow.
been buried. Yeah.
Beautiful. Did you use your psychic talent to maybe get you out of a bad deal or a business meeting or in a business situation?
Yeah. So the the place I was working when I said I got angry and I abused my boss and then I broke down. So we had a meeting about that.
Hmm.
And first meeting I had, I knew that I would get, you know, accused and blamed and told how bad I was and all that. And nothing would be said about him and what he said because there was a few things. He was very scientific and he had a very rigid way of looking at things, and he was a bit of a passive aggressor and things like that. So he'd push your buttons, and it happened a few times. And then I had my reading, and it came up in the reading. The clairvoyant talked about creating your own world, and we had another meeting, and I sat down and I visualized how I wanted that meeting to go, but not in a way that I was selfish, but just in a fairness, just in, okay, the truth comes out in this meeting, and he'll take ownership of his part and I'll take ownership of my part. And it honestly was exactly how I envisioned it. It was just perfect, and for me that's about just truth,
Wow, powerful.
but yeah, not in other ways where I managed to get a job. I have put energy into what kind of job I wanted and visualized it, and then looked on Trade Me for the first time, and there the exact job was, and I got flown by the boss to that part of the country and got an interview, and I got that job.
Okay, powerful. Now, let's talk about the impact you're having around you and around the world. Tell us about your business and all the good thing you're doing around you.
Okay, so I've done a lot of different things, and I've done quite a lot of mentoring. It's generally when I've been in a more community environment and people around me, but I also do it online. Just assisting people at where they're at, just talking like we are and finding what's going on and where they're at and what best serves them. And I can bring in different tools around that. I also, as of last year, the year before, I started bringing through light language and light codes, which are activation transmissions, awakening things that are dormant within us in our energy field, bringing things through that assist the collective. So I just allow whatever wants to be expressed to come through. I do personalized ones as well. I've done a lot of qigong and attuned to different energy fields. So I do intuitive healings, which can involve crystals as well, quantum work, light language, sound, and that. However, I will be honest with you, I haven't been doing much for the last year or so. I was very busy in Spain, my ex-partner and a family creating a sustainable piece of land, and it was from scratch, and it was a lot. And I'd come back to New Zealand to my father passing away with terminal cancer, so I just haven't felt to offer anything at that stage. And the year before that, I was at a yoga retreat center, and it was also really busy. I was part of the management, and I just assisted people there. So I did quite a bit of counseling and some energy work with people that were there, but I didn't put myself out beyond that. So I haven't done a huge amount lately, but I've been doing a lot of inner work on myself. I found that's really important, that I just keep asking questions of myself and what I need and require to be of best service for whoever resonates with me and wants to work with me. Yeah, and it's a real honor, such a blessing, to see people transform. And I've had some beautiful testimonies of people saying, it was the best thing that happened in their life, and I totally changed their life and helped them find themselves, and their path took a different direction. And it's incredible. It's such a blessing.
Speaking of that, that's a perfect segue because that was my next question. Share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
I was at a retreat center. I was actually woofing. It was a few years ago, and there was a woman who came, and she came to New Zealand for that similar reason of just trying to find herself, to have a bit of space, being in nature, exploring ideas. But she was really business orientated and quite down on herself. And just sitting with her and talking with her, and I gave her first ever clairvoyant reading. So yes, also I do clairvoyant readings with oracle cards and things. And talking about her guides, like sitting with her in the room, I could feel presence of 100 or more beings. I said, my goodness, you've got a massive team just hanging for you to just ask a question, to just invite them into. And so she did, she just took it on, and she went, okay, yep, there's something there I wasn't aware of, and okay, and I gave her some tools, and also we shaved her head as well, and that was massive for her. Like, it was fascinating when she did that. She said she'd always wanted to, but she didn't have the courage, and so I ended up doing that for her because she said herself she wanted to, and she didn't look at herself for over a day because she just wanted the feeling of what it created, which I found that really special. But just that in itself showed a transition on how she related with herself, immediately. And then she's just gone out and she's got a job that's more alternative and more supportive of her well-being and brings passion and heart space for her. And she's from the UK and she's in Kenya just doing her thing.
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now let's backtrack a little bit. Who would you say is your ideal client?
Someone who's open. You have to have a willingness. So you have to be willing to take on the responsibility that it's your responsibility to transform and heal yourself. We're just here to assist. But the person who does the real healing for us is ourselves. And I have tools that consist that. So you just need to have that willingness to want to change and be open for whatever presents itself for you to make that change and to step through that doorway and be okay with whatever comes up, and because stuff comes up, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Now we have such a supportive energy that you don't have to go into deep-rooted traumas and the way you have to re-experience them and all that. That doesn't have to happen anymore. So you can move through stuff in a lot lighter, faster way, depending on where you're at and your willingness to step into that unknown aspect. That's actually you. You're assisting you.
Yeah, beautiful. How are you getting your clients?
I generally use Facebook.
Okay.
I have a web page that people can go and see what I've done and what I offer and see testimonials and things like that. But it's not really something I market. At times I've done radio shows. At times I've done videos. So I do have a YouTube channel. I did a series of videos for a while there, and the first one was just really me showing up. It was really about me just saying, actually, this is confronting and scary, but I know I have something to share, and I know it would be good for me just for myself to stand in front of the camera and present whatever. And it's just amazing what things come from that. So I think what you're doing with the podcast is also a beautiful avenue. So I'm interested to venture down that and explore that possibility as well. And then just networking amongst people within my world. But Facebook, I think, has the most potential. You can put events on there. There's so many group pages. I have a really amazing community of soul family there as well. So
yeah. If your audience is mostly hanging out on Facebook, then sure, Facebook is the best place. If they're hanging out on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn. If it's whatever platform they hang out, then that's what you need to spend your time on. So that's powerful. And yes, podcasting can be tremendously powerful because, as I said, I'm very passionate about that. Podcasting changed my life, blessed my life, because it allows you to not only share your story and display your expertise, but also allows you to connect with the exact person that relates the most with your message. Because when someone listens to your podcast, it's for two main reasons. One, they're interested in your topic, but most importantly, they like you. They like your sense of humor, your personality. Otherwise, they would not be listening to you. And also with podcasting, it's what makes podcasting so powerful is that, when someone listens to the TV or watches the TV or listens to the radio, it's usually loud. There's a lot of distractions around them. But when someone listens to a podcast, as you and them and their earbuds, you get the type of undivided attention that no other platforms allow you to do, especially nowadays with people's attention being less than a goldfish, less than a 7 second. I would say more or less than 3 seconds. So this is why podcasting has been so beautiful. And for me, just to summarize it, what has been done to me, not just from finding my voice, making me a better person, better listener, better speaker, better, more charismatic and all that. It allowed me to build a business, get my exact ideal clients with a YouTube channel that had less than 200 subscribers, 200, which is nothing. For 90% of the time of the life of my podcast, allowed me to get up to 30 paying clients with zero ad spend, no marketing, just using my voice on the podcast. Because again, it's not the numbers, but how connected you are with your audience. Because business, as I
Yes.
said at the start of this call, business is all about a nurturing relation process.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I love your journey, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's incredible, and it's just beautiful how you just followed an energy, and you just went through it, and it's evolved, and
Exactly.
it's shows you who you truly are, and the gift that you are, and what you want to present to the world and offer.
Absolutely. It's all about putting yourself out there in whatever way. I was interviewed this past Saturday by a wonderful lady actually in Australia. And the question she asked me is, what does finding your voice mean? And that was a beautiful question. And I said, finding your voice means, number one, accepting that you have a story, that your story matters, that facing whatever you overcame, realizing that because I have an academy where I teach people to launch a podcast so they can share their story and find their clients. And at the end, I asked them, what was the number one reason that was holding you back from starting your podcast? And one of the most common reasons, and that was a reason that really was painful for me to hear because I was like that too, is that a lot of people said, my story doesn't matter. I don't have a story to start with. Who am I for people to listen to me? I don't have 55,000 pages after my name. I don't have an audience of a million people. I'm not the most eloquent person to speak. I'm not the best looker. I'm not the no. All these excuses. Basically, who am I to talk? Nobody's going to listen to me. My story doesn't matter. I don't even have a story. And for me, finding your voice means, yes, we all have a story. Your story doesn't have to change the world. Even if your story can inspire just one person, then your story matters. And in that, we all have a story. So it's to realize that and accept and understand that yes, you do have a story, because sometimes we don't appreciate our talent, our gifts, what we went through. Because for us, the common nature, they just it's nothing special because it's part of us. But that to someone else can be gold, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
understanding, realizing, and valuing our own experiences, assets, and then sharing those with the world, the lessons. Like we all go through our fair share of dark times, challenges, heartbreaks, tragedies, whatever you want to call it. Sure, they hurt a lot when we go through them, but then
Yep.
those are meant to happen, not to punish us, but to guide us, to help us grow at a soul level. And then those become part of our story. Then that story becomes our gift. Then our gift becomes our responsibility and duty with the world to share it. Because one of
Mm.
my most important realization, especially of the past 2.5 years since I had my awakening, was life is a school. We all come here to learn and grow. But if all we did was just to learn those lessons and grow ourselves and become a better person, we'd only be using like 10% of the true potential. The 90% of the potential and the 90% of the reason we are here, and 90% of the reason why we go through all the dark time, the challenges, the tragedies, the heartbreak, is for us then to take those gifts and share them with the world so that others can benefit, so that we can all, by helping others, we all rise. So this
Yeah.
to me is finding your voice, evaluating, accepting what you went through wasn't to punish you, didn't happen to you, but happened for you to help you grow. And then take those beautiful gifts, because they were gifts, and then share them with the world. And realizing
Yeah.
that your voice matters, that you do have a story. That to me is finding your voice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I found I did a video years ago about this, and it was life is happening for me. So we are in a place and we say life is happening to me or life is happening for me. And that one word, you just change one word, and it's incredible the difference. You just need to feel it. Say one and feel it, say the other one and then feel it. And it's a vast difference. And that's what you're talking about. That's what I relate with as well, you know. And we all can be in that place. We can all use those lessons and turn them into blessings and learn from them and share them with others, you know.
Everything is a lesson, even the tragedy of losing a loved one. Sure, it hurts a lot, but there is always a lesson, a gift, a beautiful to that. You know, the previous version of me, the unawakened version of me, when something bad happened to me, I used to ask the wrong question. And that's one of the most powerful and profound realization I've had, is that questions can be tremendously powerful, especially asking the right questions. The previous version of me was asking, if something bad happened to me, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Why? Where is God? How is this fair? What did I do to deserve this? Which would all, result in creating a vicious circle of negativity, and nothing good would come out of it.
Mhm.
Instead, ask a different set of questions. And I've come to understand that the two most powerful questions to ask, even in tragedy and heartbreak and whatever, is, what is this trying to teach me? What is a lesson for me to learn through this? When you look at this things from this perspective, from the spiritual perspective, then you understand the deeper, the more profound meaning and reason behind it. For example, let's say you might be lose a business, or you might end a relationship. Sure, it hurts a lot, but then it doesn't happen to you. It happens for you because it was for your best interest. It's protecting you, saving you. In God, universe, whatever you want to call it, as something better, someone much better for you, just waiting in line. You know, we have an expression in French that says, when there's a common experience that says, when one door closes, two opens. We have a similar one, because we French people kind of, call it romantic, or call it French, French humor. We said, when one person leaves, 10 more are waiting in line, you know? So the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
So there's always, it happens for you, to your advantage, even though in the moment it might hurt, but look at
Hmm.
the bigger picture. What is this trying to teach you? What is a lesson for you to
Yeah.
learn through this? When you look at things
It's all
from
about
this,
relationship, isn't
yes,
it? It's all about relationship, you know, how we relate to our experience, our life, ourselves. You know, it's not the circumstances, it's how you relate with them. You know, there's no circumstance bigger than who you truly are, without
the
a doubt.
biggest, the most important relationship we have is the relationship we have with ourselves.
Hmm. That's
And
where it starts.
and when you
Yeah.
talk, as I said earlier, changing your story, the story we tell ourselves all day long. That is the
Hmm.
most important conversation we have all day long.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And like you say, you know, your questions and the words we use, that powerful. That's what we attract.
Totally.
So we just check in and see where we're operating from, and don't give ourselves a hard time or anything when
No,
we're gone off track or whatever. Just observe and go, okay, well, what can I do differently? You know, I'm totally with you. Questions such a powerful tool. Asking questions, it's been massive for me on my journey as well, you know. And there's a better one that came through with access consciousness. How does it get any better than this?
mm-hmm.
So you can be at any stage of your life. You could have the most horrific thing happening or the most amazing, loving thing happen. And you can ask that question, how does it get any better than this? And the universe will go, huh, yeah, I'll show you.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
So it's beautiful. And yeah, there's two parts though. We also have to be open to receive.
Oh
And
yes.
that's a very difficult one as well for a lot of us. We haven't learned to know how to receive, you know. So that can be where a lot of work is around is, you know, okay, I'm ready, I'm asking questions, I want to change, I don't know how. Yeah, are you willing to receive, you know? Um, that's a big one as well.
Just like in the Bible, it says, ask you shall receive, knock and it shall open. You know,
Mhm.
and even though I may not be religious, the person listening may not be religious, but the principles are timeless. Universal.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I was watching a garden program. There was a guy who was a Christian, and honestly, the way he related to the Bible was profound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I just loved, because I'm not religious either. But the way he presented things that he took from the Bible, I just went, my goodness, he's so that's truth right there. He's at the essence of it, you know. It was amazing, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. See, I love having this kind of conversation with people, just heart to heart, not scripted, just, you know, just talking about beautiful things, just like
Mhm.
we did for the past, past hour. Let's,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I
let's,
also wanted to share one thing I
yeah,
just
go ahead.
remembered. I also do multi-authored books. You also talked about yours, and
Oh,
so
yes.
I have a chapter in a book called Miraculous,
Oh, wow.
and I also have a chapter that's coming out soon. A lady in England did a book called Memories of Lockdown, and she's doing 3 books. So the first book I'm
Oh,
not in,
wow.
the second book I'm in. So it's a journey, my journey. But I've kind of, yeah, shared some things that's happened for me on my journey through the pandemic, but also how I feel it assists conscious evolution as well, what it's truly presenting for us. And then I also have a chapter in a book series through Sacred Stories. They've put out a book series called Common Sentient,
Wow.
and I have a chapter in the book Ascension, which is coming out at the end of the year.
We'll definitely put the links and the title of the show notes. So those books you did them. Did you do what are the names of of the publishers?
So the Miraculous is Moon Goddess Publishing
Oh
with
yes,
Abigail.
Abigail, amazing. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and the second one, the series of lockdown, is I think Roseanne's just private, doing that private. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure. And then yeah, Sacred Stories are the publishers of the last one, and they've got a different series of books, but this one's called Common Sentient series,
Okay.
and they've already got about 10 books out now, and there's another 6
Whoa.
coming through or something. Yeah, it's quite a special series, and there's a main author, and then just inviting other co-authors to come in and share their stories.
Beautiful. Beautiful. See, the books can really, we all have a book or a few books inside of us, but
Mhm.
we feel that it's overwhelming, it's too hard, too complicated. That was one of the reasons that was holding me back. And then I realized, and I heard actually one of the most powerful business and life hacks that I've ever heard. And that was the fastest, most effective way to publish your first and next book is through a podcast. I said, "Whoa, what do you mean?" Is that very simple? I was actually last year I love biking, so I was on one of those long biking runs and listening to podcasts. This guy came, he said, just like I said, the most effective and easiest way for you to publish your first and next book is through your podcast. And both me and the host, we had the same reaction at the same time. We said, "What do you mean?" And the guy said, "Well, glad you asked. Let me explain to you." He said, "Well, a 200-page book is about 60,000 words, roughly speaking. Now, one 30-minute podcast episode is 6,000 words. So as long as you do one 30-minute podcast episode a week, within 10 weeks, about 3 months, you have enough content for a book. So for any business out there, as long as you release just one lousy 30-minute podcast a week, every 3 months, you have enough content to release a new book. Give it another month to package it and promote and publish. Every 4 months, you can be releasing a new book about your business. Now, imagine what being in a position to publish a new book every 4 months can do to your business. It's going to make competition completely irrelevant.
Mm,
Imagine someone, let's say you just talked to someone and they said, "Hey, Jacob, was awesome talking to you. Can I have your business card?" You just laugh. You're sorry, I don't have a business card. You reach out, you reach to your back, say, "But here's my book." Mind blown. Without you saying
mm,
an extra word, guys can automatically elevate you to a position of leadership, authority, and expertise without you saying a single word. And unlike
yeah,
business cards, nobody throws out books.
yeah,
You know,
that's true.
so this is why, for me, again, I'm very biased. I'm very passionate because this thing changed my life.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I love it.
So
Yeah, and just the
uh,
way you present it as well. I think it's very tangible,
exactly
for anyone
because
listening,
it has to be, because we're not just doing podcasts just to have, sure, it's nice to have not beautiful conversation, but there has to be an objective with that. You want to talk with exact ideal listeners, prospects, and clients in a way to, we're building a podcast for a business. If you're doing a podcast for a hobby, it's a different story. But for a business, you have to be strategic.
Yeah.
And this is what I do. This is what I teach my students, and it's been fun. So, anyways, we can talk about that another time. But let's move forward now. Let's talk about doing good, and that is the the topic of this my podcast, and then that's where the name comes from. Leaders with a Heart, building impactful, cause-driven businesses. So, for you, Jacob, what would you say is a cause that you're deeply passionate about?
I feel very connected with Mother Earth
Mm-hmm.
and very connected with nature,
Mm.
the spirit world, the elementals, all
Oh yes.
beings. And so, yeah, I feel there's deep wisdom within the earth that needs to be
Mm-hmm.
shared.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's part of my journey, actually, is to bring that wisdom through. Because, yeah, I feel we're all about community and caring for each other, and all these things that have happened within our psyche as humans has pulled us away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to get back in touch with the simplicity of who we truly are. And that's a real natural and nature way of living.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we can commune with nature and understand it and hear the voice of nature, what a little beetle has to say as it's walking past you,
Mm-hmm.
it's huge, I believe.
Sure.
So I feel very, very, yeah. I mean, my journey, was a classic Kiwi boy, lots of meat and dairy, and then on my awakening path, I became vegan, and yeah, I just bawled my eyes out. I just cried and cried when I had that, and it just happened. I had a feeling of becoming vegetarian, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then this word vegan just turned up in my world, and I was like, what
Wow.
is this word? It's here again. Like, what is? I didn't even know what vegan is, so I looked it up, and then I got a book, and it was a vegan baking book, and I read the author's story at the front, and I just bawled my eyes out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, I have a responsibility here.
Beautiful. See, that's what I said when I mentioned at the beginning that you're all about heart, and we see your art, right, coming out of your with your words. So that's beautiful. Now let's move forward and let's start wrapping this up. And we definitely will do a part two in the next few weeks. But now let's start wrapping up. So to finish off, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Okay, yeah,
All right. So what would you say has been so far the best piece of advice you've received in your life?
listen to yourself.
Oh, I
You are
love that.
your own master.
Yes. And listen to your gut feeling. Don't suppress it.
Yes, yeah.
Now, conversely, what would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received other than get a job?
um,
Do the
the
right thing, be a
worst.
man.
Yeah, I think that's it. Don't be in touch with your feelings. That man thing, that's what I was feeling.
Hmm.
The sacred masculine is soft and gentle, and our vulnerability is our strength. But we're told, you've got to be strong, you've got to be a man and not cry and eat meat pies, not quiche. I got told, when I was younger, quiche isn't for men or something. I was like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can sit face to face with the 18-year-old Jacob. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to him, knowing all that you know now?
Wow. Um, I would say just give yourself some space to
Mhm.
breathe deep enough and get in touch with your heart, because it's wanting to express itself.
Beautiful. Now, do you have your own podcast yet?
No,
What's the number one reason that's been holding you back?
I feel, I believe, like you've mentioned, I think in our previous talk,
Mhm.
the thing that's really natural for us is our gift to the world. I agree
Mhm.
with that. On the flip side of that, I also resonate with our biggest challenge is our greatest opportunity.
Absolutely.
And for me, is it's voice. It's all around expressing myself
Yes.
through voice. So that's the thing, that I've had a journey of have moments of stepping into and then whirring back. And yeah,
So imagine that today you had your podcast and it was very successful, and today you're having the most special person in the world as a guest, and that is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What is the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What's the first question that comes to your mind?
it just came to me, how did you get here?
What's your answer in a short, sweet sentence?
It would be just being open, like the journey that unfolded,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
everything I've experienced brought me to this moment.
absolutely. Here's an interesting question. What do you know now that you didn't know when you started what you're doing that you wish you knew?
That I wish I knew. Whew. I feel the openness, like it's just
Mm.
constantly unfolding. Whereas when I started to change, I felt that, oh, this is the way, now if I just do it like this or do this thing, that'll serve me, and that's it. But, it's the more I explore myself, the more I unravel things. And
Mm-hmm.
each time I come to a place, something else presents itself.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Now, the last question I will ask, and that's my favorite question to ask, the best for the last, so to speak. What is the smallest thing you've done in your life that has the most profound impact positively in both your life and in your business? For me, for example, has been starting my podcast. And by small, I don't mean something small, I mean the one thing. What about you, Jacob?
I feel when I've given something to someone anonymously.
Mm, yes.
Yeah, because you take everything out of the picture, and when you can assist someone, that brings a beautiful, just a warm, fuzzy feeling into their world, but they don't know where it came from. I think it's just magical. Or cleaning up a mess, like at a retreat center on my off day, I would always sweep these stairs at it early in the morning when no one saw me. And it was one of the most satisfying things to do.
When you do those kind of gestures, it's not anonymous because the universe always sees you. When
Hmm.
you do a gesture from the heart without expecting anything, like not like people that they go on the street, they give, for example, food to homeless and shove a camera up the face. I mean, what's the point of that? It's just you
Mm,
just striking your ego. That you're not getting any
yeah,
brownie points, so to speak, from the universe for that, because you're not doing it
no,
for the right reason. You're doing it because you want to be seen as someone good. And
yeah,
doing good is
but
something comes from the heart in a very spontaneous way without expecting anything. But when you do it in a way that there's no one to, so to speak, witness that but the universe, whatever you do, you'll get it back 100 times back.
exactly. And it's felt. Everything we do is a vibrational frequency. So it's felt, So anything you do, you're not necessarily doing it for the people around you, you're doing it for the collective and humanity. And, picking up rubbish, I
I
can
do
get great
that.
satisfaction out of
Yeah.
picking up people's rubbish.
Here, for example, every Friday morning it's garbage day, and I usually every morning I wake up early. I go for an hour and a half walking. I just grab a plastic bag and I just grab all the you know recyclables here around me, and people look at me. What's going on? I say, well, just making my neighborhood cleaner. You
Yeah,
know,
beautiful, beautiful, brother. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's the thing, whatever we be, we give permission for others to be.
And if I can inspire by me doing that, just another person to that, maybe not come and join me, but on their own, not, throw the garbage on the street, then that would, for me, that's a success. Because it's all about
Yeah,
inspiring
totally.
someone else.
Planting seeds, eh? Just putting seeds out there.
Yes,
of
yes,
possibilities.
absolutely. Beautiful. Listen, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Well, I have my Facebook page, Jacob Dodds. I do have a star name Melchizedek, and so it might become Jacob Melchizedek. I ventured into it, and then I went back to my birth name. I also have two business page. One's called New Earth Codes.
Wow.
And I also have Jacob by Design / craft. So that's the things I craft with organic native timber. I make pyramids, meditation pyramids for your altars, things like that, meditation stools, toilet squatting stools, and then just all kinds of furniture and stuff. My webpage is jacobbydesign.com. YouTube, Jacob Melchizedek. LinkedIn, Jacob Melchizedek. Yeah, they're all avenues. LinkedIn, I'm not so active. YouTube, I've just dropped one in every now and again, but I feel I haven't been doing this kind of videos for a while. I used to do a lot of them, and now it's more channeled light language coming through, but I want to, just jump on and just do something random, just feeling this, I want to share it with whoever, yeah. So those are the best ways. Yeah.
Send me any links you want me to share in the show notes, and I'll add them. So listen, Jacob, absolute honor, pleasure, blast talking to you. I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your impact, with everything you're doing. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend, my brother. I'll talk to you very soon. Take care.
Straight back at you, brother. Much gratitude and love to you. Thank you.
Very welcome. Pleasure of mine. Take care. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.